Hi, I'm Caleb Jones. This is Alpha Male 2.0, freedom-focused lifestyle design for men. Your own location independent income through your own location independent business that sets you free from your 9-to-5 job and your collapsing Western country. And equally as important, dating multiple, that means 2 or more, attractive women long-term with no lying, no cheating, and no drama. The freest lifestyle available to the modern day man in the era in which we live. Today is a very big topic. I am not going to do this topic justice because I only have about an hour or so to discuss it. And that is how to be a good dad and how to raise happy, well-functioning, strong, cool, happy children as an Alpha Male 2.0 father. Really quick, really fast before I get into that, 2 quickie items. First, if you on the live stream or even in the comments ask me or even want to ask me about what happened in India and Pakistan yesterday, and if you don't know, thank God, you're fine. But if you do know and you want to ask me, Caleb, aren't you scared about World War III? If that's what you want to ask me, then my standard answer, you are watching too much news. You need to take a 30-day news diet and watch no news for 30 days. None, no news. Don't look on the internet for news. Don't pay attention to any news for 30 days. Now, you won't do that because you're a fucking addict and you fucked yourself and you've ruined your brain. But that's what you need to do if that's a concern for you. Second thing is I recently saw, this is similar, this is somewhat related to this topic, not really, but a little bit. And that is, I saw a clip from a divorce attorney. And this guy was saying to the interviewer, I have done over 1,000 prenups. He goes, of the 1,000 prenups, I've done 5 people's divorces out of those 1,000. And the interviewer is like, well, wait, so that's incredible. So if you get a prenup, that means odds are you reduce the odds of getting divorced if you get a prenup. And the attorney wisely said, and I agree with him, no, it's not causation, it's correlation. People who have the ability to sit down, a man and a woman have the ability to sit down and discuss like 2 rational adults how to structure these things, tend to be people who stay married. The people who can't discuss this without losing their fucking minds, those people get divorced. And it's interesting that my wife and I, even though our relationship's a little weird right now, we're still together. We're still married. She's Pink Firefly, still my wife. And I want to be my wife the rest of my life. And I can't tell you legally what our arrangement is because my attorneys told me not to, so I can't talk about this publicly. But I can tell you, she signed prenuptial paperwork. I mean, it was a stack of papers like this thick. It was like 45 pages. And that was almost 10 years ago. We've been together for 15 years. I don't know how long we've been together. I should probably know the exact time. If I was a woman, I'd know the exact date and time, right? And we're still together. So that's anecdotal. But very interesting that these attorneys are saying, in their experience, the number of people who get prenups, those people tend to stay together. Interesting. And of course, I've been saying that for, 10,000 years now. A bunch of you talk about my weight loss. Thank you very much. Wait till you see me in about 6 weeks. It's going to look weird. All right. So that's it. Children. Look at my zoom up my notes here because I can't see anything because I'm old. I am no parenting expert. This is my standard disclaimer I make about this topic. I'm not a parenting expert. I'm not here to give you parenting advice. I guess I am going to do that right about now. But I have raised 2 children together with their mother, who I'm not married to and haven't seen for many years. And my kids turned out pretty well. Josh is a 6-figure earner, location dependent Alpha 2.0. My son Josh is in his 30s. My daughter Alyssa is in her mid-20s. She's a genius. She's an artist. And so by the objective measurements, I was probably a reasonably good dad, especially considering both my kids went through a divorce because my divorce from my first wife, their mother, happened when my son was in high school and my daughter was about 8 years old. So when you add in that problem and that trauma, it is traumatizing to kids going through a divorce. Long-term monogamy doesn't work. Considering that, pretty good. I also have, here's another objective measurement of how good of a dad you were, the quality of the relationship with your kids. I have a really super great relationship with both my kids. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd rank it at a 9 or a 10 for both of them. I talk to them both regularly, love them both. They love me. They confide in me. They confide in me things they don't confide with their mother. So there you go. So by whatever objective measurements we can use, I was probably a pretty decent dad. Now, was I a perfect dad? No. And I'm sure if you brought in both my kids and said, hey, did your dad do anything wrong when he was raising you? They're like, oh, let me tell you, especially my daughter. Sons are a little more respectful than daughters, those you have sons and daughters. And so just be aware that you're going to do things wrong, and that's okay. The objective for parenting, in my view, is to do the big things correctly. Do the big things right. And that gives you the right to fuck up the little things, because you will fuck up shit. You will fuck it up. A project that lasts 20 years plus, you're going to fuck up the project occasionally, right? It's normal in humans. Don't worry about it. Okay. Next thing. There is no set model for raising healthy, happy, high-functioning children in the collapsing era in which we live. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry. In the era of Western collapse, in the era of smartphones and social media and TikTok and Instagram, in the era where the entire Western world has been dominated by woke left-wing culture, and including when Trump is president, Trump won't fix it. I'm sorry. There is no way. There used to be, prior to about 1995, I'll get to that in a minute. There used to be, but now there's no structured way to say, okay, if I do these things, I'm going to raise great kids. No, there isn't. What we're talking about here is least bad, not good. There's no good way to raise kids anymore. You guys fucked all this up. For the past 40 years, you Westerners have been voting for the lesser of two evils. Consistently, you've been voting for people like Donald Trump and Joe Biden for 40 years. People like me have been telling you to stop, and you always say, no, not this time. And now you've destroyed your cultures and destroyed your economies, and now you can't raise kids correctly unless you do something really weird. Like you go move out. Yes, you could be a hermit, grab your baby mama, and go out and build a cabin in the jungle and have no internet and no Wi-Fi and raise your kids in that. You're not going to do that, okay? You're not going to fucking do that. You're not going to say, my kids will never own phones. I'm sorry, you can say all you want, tough guy. Your wife, baby mama, whatever, is going to say, fuck you, and they're going to give those kids. Anyway, so be aware of this, okay? I'm going to go through some things, and if you've never heard these things before, some of which I've covered before, some of which I haven't, you might be a little surprised. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, because of the way that you guys have fucked up Western culture. So there's no good way to do this. There's just least bad. My daughter is experiencing a lot of the problems that most Gen Z girls, I have a millennial son and a Gen Z daughter. That's kind of weird, but I do, because there's a big age difference between my two kids. My daughter is experiencing some of the standard bullshit girl Gen Z things that girl Gen Z people go through. And that's the best I can do within the era in which I live. Still pretty awesome, but just be aware of that. Next thing, I've covered this on a prior podcast. A few weeks ago, I did a podcast on why you should only have children with non-Western women in non-Western countries. So I'll repeat that here. Only have kids with non-Western women in non-Western countries. That's not because of how Western women are. It's because of legal reasons and financial reasons. Go watch that podcast I did several weeks ago, okay? Also on that podcast, I stated, and this is correct, raising children. Having kids is easy. Go have sex without a condom, come inside her, and then voila, you'll have a kid. That's easy. Raising children correctly is the most time-consuming, most draining, most expensive, most difficult project of your entire life. Starting a business and bringing that to 7 figures is easier than raising kids. Losing 100 pounds is easier than raising kids. Finding the woman of your dreams, easier than raising kids. Raising them, high-quality kids. You can raise them poorly. That's easy. So you don't have kids just because you want to have kids, or just because your mom says, when are you having kids? I want to be a grandma. Or the girlfriend or woman or MLTR or LLTR or FB you're dating says, I want kids. Or you get that text the next day, or you get the text that a lot of you morons are still getting. You guys are still doing this. You get that text, I'm late. You get that text from this random FB or MLTR, I'm late. I think I'm pregnant. I'm late. You're like, and you go, oh shit, I didn't use the condom. And now you have kids. This is not why you have kids. You have kids as part of a preset plan, a long-term plan. I want kids. You should know how many kids. You should know if you want kids. And that's a big problem. I've talked about this. Most men over 30 I talk to don't have kids yet. I ask them, do you want kids? They go, I don't know. Okay, if you're over 30, you don't know if you want kids, you're in big trouble. You need to know. If you're 22, I get it. If you're 30, 35, 37, and I ask you, do you want kids? Go, okay, that's a problem. You need to know, and because if you don't know, here's what's going to happen. I've seen many of you morons do this. You don't know if you want kids or not because you're a dumbass. You fall in love with some chick, you get one-itis, monogamous or not, hopefully not. But even if you aren't, if you're non-monogamous, and then you get serious and she stamps her little foot, I want kids. You go, okay. That's not how you have kids. So having kids is something you do as a preset part of your plan. I'm going to have one kid, and I'm going to have one kid in 6 years. I'm going to have 2 kids starting when I'm this old. That's how you have kids. And the problem is 90 to 95% of men don't do this. They have kids, or they have kids because someone is yelling at them. Mom or grandma or girlfriend or whoever. And then they have kids and they do a horrible job. Okay? No, but Caleb, I already have kids. Okay, if you already have kids, I can't help you. I can't help you with not having more. You fucked that up already. So I'm going to help you know how to raise those kids. But I'm just saying it's harder. It's 10 times harder to raise kids if you're doing this on a whim or by accident. Really quick, I have been having sex several times a week, every week, for 18 years straight with a number of women in the triple digits. And I've never had any baby come out of any women. So if I'm able to do this, you're able to do it. Okay? You know how many women I've had sex with without a condom? I've run the numbers. It's a huge amount of women. And no one's pregnant. All right? So if I can do this, you can do it. There's no fucking excuse. Don't be stupid about this, guys. You guys are still stupid about this. Anyway, all right. Next thing, parameters. And I'll get to the techniques in a second. These are parameters. These are my standard parameters. I already talked about these. Number one, if you don't have kids, you want to have kids with non-Western women outside the West. That is a new Alpha 2.0 model set. If you have kids in the West, you're going to be submitted to all kinds of laws that are going to favor her, child support, visitation. It's very bad. Please don't do that. If you have kids that are a 5 flags model, then you can have all the kids you want. There's no government that she can go to. Go watch the live stream. I just did on that a few weeks ago. Number 2, something I've been saying for almost 20 years now. If you are, I won't say stupid, if you, for some reason, want to have kids in the Western world with a Western woman, if you're going to stay in the collapsing United States or cuckoo Canada or suicidal Europe or authoritarian Australia for the rest of your life, good luck to you. If you're going to stay there and you're going to have kids with a Western woman who lives in one of those countries, then you need to be wealthy. You need to be a strong 6-figure earner and or be a multimillionaire, or else you shouldn't do it. And when I mean you make 6 figures, I don't mean you make $102,000 a year. I mean you make real 6 figures. You make $350,000 a year, $742,000 a year. You make real money because you're going to need it. You raise kids in the modern era with inflation and costs and how women are with what I've talked about that on my blogs and my live streams. Okay. If you want to have kids outside the West, then you have a lot more options because it's a lot cheaper and there's not less laws up your ass and things like that. But if you're going to have American kids with an American woman or Canadian or UK or whatever, I hope you make a lot of goddamn money. I could have kids in the United States. I make plenty of money. Most of you don't. There's a few of you that do. So I'm stating this for the record. There's a percentage of you know who you are who make that kind of money. Great. You want to have kids with an American woman? Go ahead. And you're cool with the fact that the government's going to tell you when you can see that kid. All right, great, go ahead. It's fine. When you have money, a lot more options. When you don't have money, sorry. The way it goes. But it's bullshit because no, it's not. And what did I just say earlier? There's no good way to do this. There's only least bad. Okay. All right. Here's what I've talked about in my books. And I'll give you some examples in a second that I not give in my books. Your job as a father when you have, this is once you have these kids, little rugrats, once you have these kids, your mission with those 2 kids, the 2 items you have for however many kids you want, less is better than more, again, unless you're very wealthy. If you're very wealthy, have all the kids you want. If you don't have a lot of money, you better have 1, maybe 2, and then get a vasectomy or something. Holy fuck. You have 2 jobs, you have 2 roles, 2 missions with your children. They are both equally important. The first one is you need to teach your children cause and effect, because this is something their mother is probably not going to do. Okay? This is your job as a man to do this. What do I mean by cause and effect, Caleb? Well, That means you need to teach your children and wire it into their brains, wire it into their bodies, their subconscious. I was very good at this with my kids. You know, wire this in your kids when they're little. When you do bad things will happen to you. When you do good things will happen to you. They need to get that implanted in their bodies and their brains and their souls, because then when they become adults, they become functional adults. They don't become losers. They don't become spoiled brats. They don't become whiny idiots. They don't become woke nightmares. They don't become hardcore, insane Christian conservatives who, worship Donald Trump. Okay? They become strong, independent, happy, functioning adults when they have it wired in their system, cause and effect. Now, what's interesting is society used to do this. When I was a kid, they did it. And they stopped doing this in the 90s. So prior to the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, the 30s, the 40s, parents, moms and dads were always a little better at this, taught their kids, starting when they were babies, you do bad shit's going to happen to you, buddy. You do good stuff, good things will happen. So that means when they do bad things, they are punished. When they do good things, they are rewarded. This worked fine until the 90s. And as I've taught about in my books, you can read my books for the analysis if you'd like. 90s was the beginning of the end for Western culture. That's when the left-wing baby boomer generation took charge of Western culture. And all of a sudden, everything started to change. Go read my books if you want more analysis and details and facts and things like that. But one of the many things that changed was moms in the 90s, mostly Gen X and boomer moms is primarily the culprits of this in the 90s, started to say punishing kids is bad. It's not right. It's mean. And awarding kids, giving them prizes and rewards is also bad, because the kids that don't get rewarded, they will feel bad. And so I'll tell you what happened to me in the 90s. This is a true story. Those who know my history, I was stupid. I was a young, stupid beta male in the 1990s. And when I was a young, stupid beta male, I got stupidly, monogamously married to an older woman, Western American woman. She had a son. I adopted him. That's now my son, Josh. And then we shortly had a daughter together. That was my daughter, Alyssa. Those are my two kids. And we were married for 9 years. We got divorced because I was an idiot. It was all my fault. I was monogamous and I got married too young. Topic for another time. But this was back in the 90s. So the scenario was that I was in my mid to late 20s. I was like baby. And suddenly I went from having no kids and no wife to within like a year and a half, 2 years, having a wife and two kids. All of a sudden, so I didn't know about raising kids. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I was a kid myself. I was 27. So when this happened, this event I'm about to tell you, I was like 27 years old, 28, something like that. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just winged the shit. So later I got a little better, but this is what happened. So one day we were my son Josh was about 8 years old at the time. So that means my daughter Alyssa was like 2 years old. That's about right, 2, 3 years old. And we were at the end of the season big pizza party for his baseball team. So my son Josh was a big jock when he was a kid, especially especially basketball. And my son is black. It's a long story. His mom's a blonde white woman. It's a long story. I've told it many times. Go watch my old podcast. And so we were two whiteys raising this family in a suburban, upper class suburban white neighborhood, because I was making six figures back then in 1990s dollars. And it was hilarious because my son was black. So he would be playing basketball with all these white suburban kids, and he would just like burn through the court and just be scoring all these points. And he was like a superstar because all these like white suburban kids like, what the fuck happened? Because Josh would be like, it was hilarious. So he played a lot of sports. He played soccer, baseball, basketball. Basketball was fair. So anyway, he's playing baseball. And it was the end of the season. And if you don't have kids, here's what happens. At the end of the season, they rent out a big place at the pizza restaurant, and all the team goes there, and the coaches, and the moms, the dads, they have this big pizza party at the end of the season. So we were sitting there eating pizza and cake and getting fat. And my wife at the time sitting next to her, and my daughter, and Josh. Josh was actually with his buddies over there on the baseball team. And one of the coaches starts talking, and then he says, all right, it's time to award trophies. I said, cool, trophies. All right, cool. I had no idea what was about to happen. This is like 1990 for context, 1997 or so, 98, 97, somewhere there. So mid to late 90s. And this really happened. And they're like the coach in the front, he gets this big box. He pulls out, opens the box, and he pulls out this little trophy, like this big, okay? Of like a little kid throwing a baseball, like a little gold, those cheap ass bronze trophies, right? He pulls out this trophy. He's like, all right, this trophy is for Ethan. Come on down here, Ethan, and get your trophy. And we all went, woo, woo, Ethan, all right. And I'm like, all right, Ethan, woo. I'm eating pizza, getting fat, woo. All right, Ethan, woo. So this little kid comes up and takes his trophy and goes back. All right, good job. Okay, and then the coach pulls out a next trophy. He goes, okay, this trophy is for Johnny. Okay, Johnny, come down. Woo! And I'm like, Johnny, all right. Now, one weird thing is I noticed that the trophy was the same trophy that Ethan got. Oh, well, that's weird. But all right, maybe, all right, whatever. Maybe, who knows? So, all right, Johnny, woo! Johnny, woo! And Johnny goes down, takes trophy next. Okay, and he goes, all right, cool. All right, now, and he pulls out another trophy, and it's the same trophy. This trophy is for Joey. Okay, Joey, come on. Like, all right. And now I'm like, what's going on? Why are they're getting 3 trophies in a row and they're all the same trophy? See, the way it's supposed to work is the first place, so the third place kid gets a trophy that's little, and the second place kid gets a bigger trophy, and the first place gets a super awesome trophy. And then maybe you have like 4th, 5th, 6th place kids, maybe they get a ribbon. That's how it worked when I was a kid in the 80s and the 70s. You got a ribbon, you got like a blue ribbon or something. And I'm like, this is the 3rd trophy in a row where it's the same trophy. I'm like, so now I'm like, okay, Joey, I'm like a little ambivalent now. I'm not as excited. So then he pulls out the 4th trophy, and it's the same trophy. Like, okay, Larry, going out. And I'm like, okay. And they're all the moms are like, yay, yay, including my wife at the time. So as everyone's going, yay, Larry, I nudge her and I go, why are they all getting the same? Literally, I didn't know what was going on. You already know what is happening because now what I'm describing now is a cultural norm. Welcome to the collapsing Western world. But this was new to me because I wasn't a dad until, right? So I nudged my wife at the time, Josh's mom and Alyssa's mom, and I say, why are they all getting the same trophy? What's going on? Because I'm thoroughly confused. I don't know what's going on. And she goes, well, they all get a trophy. Because she's been a mom for 6 years, 6, 7, 8 years. She knows this stuff. And I'm like, what? What do you mean they all get a trophy? She goes, they all get a trophy. I said, again, I'm confused. I'm not mad because I'm still confused. I'm like, what do you mean all the kids on the team get a trophy? She goes, yeah. I said, okay, so they all get a trophy, but then the first kid gets a best trophy and the second kid at the end, they're going to announce like the winner of the first place and the second. They go, no, they all get the same trophy. Every kid gets the same trophy? And she goes, and she could see how confused I was. She goes, yeah, that way none of the kids feel left out. And I'm sitting there, I have my arms folded, just staring at her, and they're still clapping. Johnny, yay, yay. All the moms and all the dumb beta male dads, yay, Johnny. It's like the 7th kid with the same fucking trophy. And I'm sitting my arms folded going, what the fuck's going on here? And then they call my son Josh. Now, let me give you context. Josh is a jock. Josh was awesome at sports. Awesome at sports. Awesome at sports, okay? Awesome, including with baseball. And there was a kid, Josh wasn't the best on it. He was the best in his basketball team. In the baseball, he wasn't the best. He was in top 3, okay? There was a kid named Rory. I still remember this. This is 25 years ago. I remember this. There was a little kid on his team named Rory. Rory was a fuck off. So Rory, when we had baseball games, because I went to Josh's baseball games because I'm a good dad. I didn't go to all of them, but I went to a lot of them and to most of them. This kid Rory would be out there in the outfield by third base, and he would just during a game, and he would just lay down on the grass and lay down, go to sleep. He would lay down, and the coach was like, Rory, stand up! What the hell are you doing? And we're like, and Rory would just dick around, and so Rory and my son Josh got the same trophy. So I literally said to her, so Josh is going to get the same trophy as fucking Rory? She's like, well, yeah, that way no one feels left out. On the way home, I got mad. I said, I was stupid. I was a dumb beta male back then. Don't do this, please. I would start getting into an argument with the wife, the monogamous wife, about what the fuck? Do you understand what you're doing to these kids? Do you understand what this is doing? I said, does everyone do this, or is this some weird coach? No, everyone does this. I said, so if Josh went to this school and said this school, they would do, oh yeah, that school does it, and that's this is what everyone does now. I said, are you fucking kidding? And she goes, well, it's better. Typical mom. Well, it's better because, they don't feel left out. And, well, it's just better because they don't feel left out. And eventually, at the end of the conversation, to her credit, I finally said, does that make sense to you? Is that going to build happy, high-quality kids? Is that going to motivate kids to do better? And she's like, I guess not. So the result of that, starting in the 90s, is the millennial generation. Then we doubled down on it. Now we have the Gen Z generation. How do these two generations compare? Yeah. So we already know the results now. When you don't teach kids cause and effect, when you give every kid on the team a trophy, you're not teaching cause and effect. You are teaching good things will happen to you if you do good. Good things will happen to you if you do bad. So you have a bunch of entitled assholes, millennials and Gen Z, who grow up and say, in the case of millennials, they start a new job at the office. They go, why am I not the manager? I've been here a week. I know how to run this place. And they get all pissed if you don't do that. And then Gen Z, they're like, I got to work to pay my bills. Well, that's bullshit. That's not fair. That's what's happened. We have an entire generation, 2 generations now of children, where we didn't bother to teach them cause and effect because the left-wing shift of society starting in the 1990s. So your job as a father is to teach your son and your daughter, or sons and daughters, cause and effect. When they do good, you reward them. However that means. And we could have a long discussion about what rewards mean, all that stuff. If they do bad, especially if it's on purpose, and they will, you have to punish them. In my main book, The Unchained Men, alphamalebook.com, I have 2 entire chapters on exactly how to punish children. It's called a timeout. It's a whole system, okay? How to punish them in ways where it hurts, but it's not detrimental to them, but it does hurt. You need punishments to hurt a little bit, not physically. By the way, never hit your children. Never, ever, 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 ever physically hit your children. And never, ever, ever, this is a harder one for you pussies, never, ever, ever let your baby mama hit your kids either. I knew this back in my 20s, so I knew the data back then. So when I was dating the woman who I later married, who became the mother of my children, my first wife, when we were dating and talking about moving in and get together, I said, because I would notice she would slap Josh like on the mouth occasionally when she got mad at him, because women hit their kids more than men do. Look it up. Women smack their kids around far more than men do. Go to any Walmart, see some baby screen. You'll see women smacking their kids. You ever see a man smack it? Man will go to fucking jail. Women get away with all kinds of shit. So she would pop him a little bit. Not badly, but she'd hit him. And one of the things I told her was, back when I was 25 years old, I knew this. If we get married and we become man and wife and he becomes my son, you are never allowed to touch him ever again like that. You can't ever hit him again. And I also added, now don't worry, I'll punish the fuck out of him. You don't have to worry about him not getting punished. I did. I punished my kids, but I won't hit them. And you can't hit him. And she stopped. She goes, okay, I won't. And to her credit, again, she stopped hitting him. As soon as she moved in, she stopped. You can ask Josh. But when he was little, he got smacked around a little bit. Okay? Never, ever, ever hit your kids. The data on this is over fucking whelming. You will fuck your kids. I don't care how good of a dad you think you are. I don't care how Christian you are. I don't care how much you worship Andrew Tate. Do not ever, ever hit your kids, and never allow their baby mama to hit, because more than likely it's going to be her. She's going to hit your, smack your kids around. You got to tell her, you cannot touch those kids. You cannot hit those kids. Don't worry. I'll punish the fuck. My kids will tell you, when they were little, this is how it's supposed to work, by the way, and most of society has lost this. My wife at the time, when I was at work, because I wasn't location independent back then, when the kids were running around like little maniacs during the day, she said, if you don't I'm going to tell, when dad gets home, I'm going to tell dad you were bad. And both kids go, oh my God, no, don't tell dad it was you. Mom, don't tell dad we were bad. Good. Your kids need to fear you a little bit. Now, we went through eras like the 70s and the 40s where children feared their dads too much. Okay. But if they don't fear you at all, beta male pussy, and you're not teaching cause and effect. And I've talked about examples in my books about when my kids were little. I'll give this example really quick. It's a quick one. This is in my book. I'd be working in my home office at home. Okay. And my first wife at the time would walk in and go, it would be around 7, 8 p.m. She goes, oh, can you put these kids to bed? They're just not doing what they're told. And first I'd say, are you sure? Because I noticed from what happened prior is I would punish the kids. And then my wife would say, you can't do that. And then you're punishing your kids. And you're fighting your wife. This is why you have to qualify. She has to qualify our OLTR rules. Anyway, I'd say, are you sure? Because that means they may be punished. And you're going to have to suck up and watch me punish them, which is very hard for moms. Moms don't like punishment unless they're black. Black mama, you black guys know. Black mama, black grandma will go kick your ass. That's different. But if they're white mama, white mothers don't punish. They think that's mean to little kids. All right. So she would, now, if she was really mad enough, she'd say, yes, I understand. Punish them if you have to. I'd be like, okay. So she had been trying to get these kids to bed for like 15 minutes. Go to bed. Josh, listen. They go, and they run around throwing their toys on, bullshit. Things that little kids do. 15 minutes screaming and yelling and, all the things that moms do that don't work. So this would happen. This happened many times. You can ask my kids. You can ask my ex-wife. This happened. I would just walk out to the main foyer. We had a big house. And I would say, they'd be running around over the corner in the living room. And I would say, here's exactly what I'd say. In bed on the count of 3 or no TV all day tomorrow. 1. And they'd freeze like this. Then I'd say 2. Oh my God. And they'd run. Like the Flash, like the Bionic Man. They would run as fast as they could through the foyer, up the stairs. They go, and they'd run and they'd run and they run. I go, 3, slow motion, 3. And as I said the word 3, they would jump in slow motion into their beds. And as soon as I said E, they would land in their beds. I'd say, there you go, to my wife. I walk back to my office. Took me 3 seconds. Why? Because I talked to them cause and effect. It's real simple. I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly what happened. Ask my kids. Now, does that mean you're an asshole and you ruin them like an authoritarian? No, I'm about to cover that in the very next item. But you get my point. Okay, very next item. So that's the first thing, teaching them cause and effect. The second thing, equally as important, it's number 2, but it's equally as important as number 1. Okay? You must show them unconditional love. See, you can go too far with the scary daddy shit, and alpha male 1.0s often do. How would you like to be Andrew Tate's kid? How would you like Andrew, even if you love Andrew Tate and worship him, how would you like him to be your dad? You want Andrew Tate to be your dad? What happens if you fuck up in front of Andrew Tate? Beat the shit out of your ass. You're going to turn out to be a good, high-quality adult with Andrew Tate as your dad? So you have to demonstrate unconditional love. What does that mean? That means that whatever they decide to do, as long as it's not bad and harmful, whatever they decide to do as children and certainly as teenagers and adults, whatever they decide to do, they know for sure you will love them. You will not stop, and they know in their heart, Dad will not stop loving me even if I do this that Dad hates. They know it for sure. That's a tough one for alpha males. Beta males have problems with number 1, teaching cause and effect. Alpha male 1.0s, or people who lean in that direction, men who lean in that direction, have problems with unconditional love. Now, that doesn't mean you have to agree with them. My daughter is monogamous. I don't agree with that. My son went to college. I don't agree with that at all. And they know I don't agree with those choices, but I still love them and they know it. It's your life. Once you're 18, your kids are an adult. They can do whatever they want. So I love you and I will always love you. I don't care. Love you no matter what. Don't agree with your choices. You don't have to agree with what they do, but they have to know in their heart, not in their brains, their heart, that you still love them. Unconditional love. That's what that means. If they fear that you won't love them, you're going to raise fucked up kids. You're going to go too far with the fear thing. Okay? Imagine if you are a hard left-wing woke person and your son or your daughter, if it's not you, son or your daughter turns out to be a hardcore born-again Christian who loves Trump. Is that person going to show unconditional love? Probably not. And you're like, yeah, fucking woke people. All right, you Trump right-wing morons. Let's say you are a right-wing Trump hardcore alpha male 1.0 Andrew Tate Christian, or God forbid Muslim. And your son, when he's 15, tells you he's gay and he's going to start fucking other guys. Are you going to show unconditional love? Probably not. Probably not. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get mad. It doesn't mean you can't have a discussion and say, whoa, what are you doing? You can have those discussions, but they still know that you love them through your framing, while you're teaching them cause and effect. So I mentioned earlier, both my kids will confide things in me, especially my daughter, which is really crazy, will confide things in me that they will never tell their mom. Why? Because they know I accept them and I love them. They can tell me anything. Doesn't matter. The last time I talked to my daughter a few weeks ago, we were on the phone for 3 hours. She does not have 3-hour phone calls with her mom or her own boyfriend or her grandma, me. Why? Because she knows I don't judge her. I can disagree with her, and I did. Disagreed on several things she said in that call. I told her, you can disagree. You still have to love. And they have to know dad still loves me. While dad provides consequences, punishments, rewards, both at the same time. That's the secret sauce to raising high quality kids. If you do those two things, you can fuck up on the little things. And I fucked up on the little things. A lot of little things. I can give you a list right now. I'm not gonna, but I could. But I did the two big things right. I taught them cause and effect while still showing them clearly that I loved them no matter what. Okay. Next concept. How are we doing on time? All right, perfect. I got one more concept here, and I'll address some questions. This one's a tricky one. All children are not the same. Okay, you're going to have. Matter of fact, children be radically different. I am one of 5 kids. Okay, I'm actually one of 6. So I've talked about this in my blogs. I have a half brother who is older than me, who I wasn't raised with, who was my dad's son from a prior marriage because my dad had a fling in the 60s. Okay. So I have a half brother who's older than me. He's like 6-7 years older than me. Then I was raised with 5 children. I was the oldest of 5. Then I had my fat sister, who I've talked about. Then I have a pretty sister. Then I have my 2 little brothers who are like Beavis and Butthead when they were little kids. So the 5 of us were all raised together. All 5 of us are completely radically different personalities. We look similar, but we are completely different personalities. Same mom and dad, same environment. Nurture and nature was identical for both of us, and we all came out completely different. We're totally different. So, and my son and my daughter are very different. Now, you could argue that's because my son isn't biologically related. Okay, fine. But even if he was related, trust me, he'd be very different. We're all biologically related. Well, look, you can tell by looking at us. If any one of my sisters or brothers walked in here, be like, oh, you look like Caleb's sister or brother. Yeah. So that means that there is not one way in which you punish or reward your kids. If you have more than one, now if you have one kid, this is easy, you're good. That's why most of you should just have one kid. If you're in the Western world. Okay. Now, but if you have more than one kid, you have to understand your multiple kids are going to be very different from each other. And if you punish them one way, some kids will like it and some kids won't. Perfect example. Another true story. This is from my childhood. Okay, again. So I was the oldest, Caleb. Then I had Kiki, who was my fat sister. Amy, who was my pretty sister. And then I had my 2 little brothers, Josh and Jeremy. Yes, I have a brother and a son, both named Josh. It's a long story. So when we were little, it was me and my 2 sisters, and then the boys were babies. All right. So when me and my sisters were little, we were little kids running around being little turds, right? And my dad was a very stressed out alpha male 1.0 who hated his life and hated his job. And that was very typical back in the 70s and 80s. And so this was what? This is in the late 70s, early 80s, right? Or somewhere in there. So I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. And what happened is My dad would be all pissed off and stressed out, and my sisters being like, would run around being little maniacs, because that's what kids are. They're kids are basically little maniacs. They're insane people. They'd be like, God damn it, all three of you go to your room. And I was raised in the era in the 80s where the punishment was go to your room. Now, before the 80s, the punishment was something called the belt. Thank God I never got the belt, but a lot of you are older than me, you got the belt. Matter of fact, some of you who are my age or younger got the belt because you lived in the South. And Daddy going to get the belt out of the work shed in the sick days. So I, fortunately or unfortunately, was raised in the area where you went to your room. Then in the 90s, it became timeouts, which is the proper way to punish kids. And then in the 2000s, it became, timeouts are evil. You need to talk to your kids about your feelings, which fucks up all your kids. So anyway, I was raised in an area where your punishment was, God damn it, go to your room. That was our thing in the 80s. Okay, now here's what happened. I'm very different than my sisters, and both my sisters are very different from each other. So here's what happened. This happened so many times. You're going to think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. So I'd be me, my sister. We'd stand there. My dad would be like, God damn it, go to your room. All three of you, go to your room. And Kiki, the older sister, she'd go, go to my room. Okay, that's what she would do. Amy, the other sister, would go to my room, but dad, my pretty sister. But dad, I didn't do anything, and I didn't do anything. Kiki did it, and Johnny did anything, and Caleb did. Why should I have to go to my room, dad? Okay, that's what she would do. Guess what I would do? I'd be like, go to my room? Cool. I would just go, and I would go to my room and shut the door and jump on my bed and read The Hobbit. I loved going to my room. My room, I'm an introvert. Sending an introvert to his room? My room when I was a little boy was the greatest place in the world. I loved my room. I loved spending time. I spent it all fucking day. So when my parents were dumb enough to send me to my room, I'd be like, cool. I'd go to my room and I'd pull out my Dungeons and Dragons books and write. Or I'd write in my journal. I was a nerd. Or I'd type on my little typewriter. Little 80s little kid typewriter. Or read The Hobbit. Oh, Gollum. Loved it. And I'd be sitting there in my bed reading The Hobbit, and I would still hear on the other side of the house my two sisters and my dumb dad screaming at each other. I hear, but damn, God damn it, you need to respect your father. And they'd be screaming at each other, and I'd be like, what a bunch of dumb fucks. Read my book. Also, I was the only high IQ person in my family of 7. I've talked about that. So it's another dynamic. But you see my point. And hilariously, my parents didn't figure out, it didn't dawn on them that this punishment didn't work on Caleb till I was old enough to not be able to be sent in my room. Finally, my parents, I think my mom's like, whenever we send Caleb to his room, he's happy. Maybe this doesn't work. Fucking hell. So, and my kids were the same. Josh is very different than Alyssa. Josh is an extreme extrovert. Alyssa is even more introverted than me. Okay, so if you wanted to punish Josh when he was little, Josh knows if he's watching this. You give him a timeout. That's where you sit in a chair and you face the wall and you can't make sounds for 4 minutes. It was torture for him because he was super talkative and wanted to be around people all the time. And timeouts was like pulling his fingernails out. It was awful for him. You give Alyssa a timeout, she's like, all right, whatever. She would just sit there and just, fantasize about stuff and play with her fingers. And she'd be fine. So later I had to figure out, take TV away from Alyssa. Now you can't watch Dragon Tales. You can't watch Star Trek Voyager, Alyssa, because she was 4. She watched, 7 of 9. But Dad, TV. So I had to learn how to punish and reward my kids based on their personalities. You can't just read a parenting book and it says, this is how you punish your kids. And just equally apply that to all of your kids. You get multiple kids. Some kids it will work perfectly. Some kids it won't work at all. It didn't work a goddamn when my parents sent me in my room in the 80s. I loved going to my room. You know what they started doing as I got a little older, not to high school, but they started doing the thing. This is the thing we did in the 70s days, especially if you're a Christian. My mom was an ex-Catholic nun. Read about it in my blogs, or I've talked about this. You get your mouth washed out with soap. So that happened once or twice. When I said bad words in the 80s. And it was worse if my mom did it Because my dad said, that's way better than saying my ass in my room. I'm like, cool. Like, all right, Caleb, you said hell, so you're gonna get your mouth washed out because you said shit. You said dog shit, Caleb. So my dad would take a little rag and wipe it on a little bar of soap, and he'd grab my mouth, literally like wash my mouth out. Welcome to the 80s. It was great. But then my mom was worse. Mom would be like, she would hold out a bar of soap and she'd say, suck on this. I'm like, but I'm not putting that in my mouth. You're going to suck on, you said damn in hell. And I'm like, ah! And then my mom would be nice. Oh, do you want me to make you a sandwich? I'm sorry. Mom, it's a little too late. You're only going to throw it up. And anyway, I could tell you all kinds of stories. I won't. How we doing time? All right, we're good. So that's it. This is a very, very little topic. I could do 5 podcasts on how to raise kids as a, Alpha 2.0 dad and in the modern era and things like that. We didn't even talk about things like social media and putting limits on these things. I want you to here. I'm going to end with this and I'll answer your questions. I see a lot of them. This is one of the tragedies of the modern era. Steve Jobs, when he invented the iPad, didn't let his kids use them because he knew. This is like 2011. He knew in 2011. He knew. This is why Steve Jobs was actually kind of evil. I mean, you can learn some business stuff from Steve Jobs, and I have, but he was actually kind of evil. Because would I invent a product to give to the world, but I don't let my kids use it? I would never do that because I have something called ethics and morals. Steve Jobs knew. He knew how bad this was. He's like, you're not using it. Everyone else's kids are going to use the iPad and the iPhone, but not you kids, not my kids. So if he knew, and if you read Jonathan Haidt's books and stuff, and you know how bad this is for kids. Again, though, can you say to children in the modern era, and God forbid their baby moms, you are never going to use social media. You are never going to get an iPad or a Galaxy Tab. You are never going to get a smartphone. You're never going to get an iPhone. Never, not ever, not to your 18. Can you do that? No. That's also not an option. That's why I said least bad. You're not going to be able to pull it off. And if you think, my kids, when I have kids, they won't run around. Bullshit. Your baby mama's going to scream at you and you go, okay, honey, please don't divorce me. That's what you're going to do. Unless you're Alpha 2.0. But even Alpha 2.0, you got to be realistic about what you could expect. All right. Okay. I'm going to answer your question. Oh my God. I don't know how many of these I can answer, but I'll do my best here. There's a lot of them. Holy shit. Want to know your opinion on jabs for kids. I have a new child on the way. I was thinking of avoiding most. Do you see some as more valid than others, or do you lean to avoiding all? Appreciate it. I am not an expert on this. I will give you my answer. My personal opinion. This is just my opinion. I am not an expert. Please do your own research on this. That's a very big decision. You need to make your own research and do your own research to make your own decision. My personal opinion from a layman who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about is some vaccines are good. Smallpox vaccines, chickenpox vaccines, yeah, those are good. You don't want your kids to have chickenpox. I have them. You can't see it in the camera, but I have 4 little holes in my forehead from when I was 6 years old from getting chickenpox because it itched so bad. I itched till I bleed. And I have 4 scars in my forehead. It was bad. So you don't want your kids getting chickenpox or smallpox, the serious ones. The COVID, no, that's stupid. That's just ridiculous. That's not a vaccine. And during the pandemic, we changed the terminology of vaccine. Go read my blogs. So some of them I think are good. The 10,000 that your baby mama and your left-wing school will demand they get, no. You don't just have someone hand you a list of 37 vaccines and say, vaccine your kid to all 37. You need to go down the list and do research on each item. Smallpox, yeah. Chickenpox, sure. But some random fucking thing? No. When calling companies look for their main problem, what do you, if the company asked me to send an email because they do not have the time because I talked to the secretary? They're going to ignore you. I would move on. How does the Alpha 2.0 become okay with only seeing their over 21 children a small handful of days per year? Phone and Zoom just aren't the same. They're adults. Your kids are adults. That's not a 2.0 thing. That is, Michael, that's your decision. If that would hurt your heart, then don't do it. That's not a 2.0 thing. That is your personal opinion. Once your kids are adults, you decide on what is appropriate or not. You decide how much time you want to spend with your kids. Now, here's the problem. Let's say you want to be super connected to your grown kids for the rest of your life, and your grown kids insist on living in New York City for the rest of their lives. You have a decision to make, don't you? But that's your own personal decision. There's no right or wrong answer for that question. I know you don't drink alcohol, but when on a first date, would a glass of wine just to put the woman at ease? Huh? If I'm drinking a glass of wine, by how much does the success rate drop if I only get a soft drink and alcohol? I have had sex with a triple-digit number of women I don't drink. So I made it work. She can get alcohol, and what I used to do is get a mixed drink that looks like alcohol. I'd get a virgin mojito, which is pretty gay, but it worked. And it looked like I was drinking, and I would explain to her, I don't really drink, but I don't mind other people drink. Oh, okay. It's fine. It worked fine for me. You're overthinking this. A lot of you are talking about my weight loss. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. If I'm an IT developer and I find a problem of a company that I have found to be solved without any IT skills, should I still try to solve it, or would it be better to find my problem solved by IT skills? The former. But again, you need 5 people in the niche to tell you that's their biggest problem. Not you found a problem, you fixed one problem. The other 20,000 companies in the niche may not give a shit about that problem. So you need to ask them before you start selling those things. I got very confused about what to do right now. I have $8K cash and net income in the range of 0 to 6K per month. That's a serious problem. If your income is 0 to 6K a month, you need to smooth that out. So that's your mission number 1. If my income was 0 to 6K a month, that big of a swing, I need to smooth that out. I live in Italy, okay? Was thinking about moving to Thailand, but it'd be just to move out of my home, but I wouldn't get an actual residency. That's fine. I was almost thinking about it was safer to stay in Italy until I have the money to get foreign residency. Okay, can't move out here. That is where you live is not your biggest problem. Your biggest problem is there's someone to make 0 income. Fix that first. I had a girl block me on Facebook because she saw I talked about this on my last video last week. I've never been blocked in my entire life by any woman. So you fucked it up. Because she saw me post online with another girl. Yeah. Is that my fault? Yes. Or shouldn't care? Correct. It is your fault and you shouldn't care. She was 35. That's even worse. Over 33, she'd be hypersensitive. So that's normal. We slept together 2 times. Yeah, it is your fault. You shouldn't care. And that is normal for over 33s. Mm-hmm. The best way to do a referral game is to go on a hot girl Instagram and look at all of the following and then message all the hot friends. That is not referral game. That's not referral game. That's not my definition of referral. Man, I invented it. Do you have other suggestions besides Thailand for cheap places for solopreneurs? Dude, there's about 30 countries. I could list 30 countries that are cheap. There are about 30, 35 cheap countries outside of Africa. I'm in one called Paraguay. You might have heard of it. So there's no 1 or 2. There's like 30. Take your pick. How is dating in Poland? Dating in Poland is awesome. My son Josh likes Poland. A lot of my friends and customers and clients who live in Dubai hop up to Poland. They're in Poland right now. See, I come to Paraguay in the summer, living in Dubai. Other guys in Dubai, they go to Poland, or at least a lot of them do. I've been playing poker the last 9 months and basically lost my money. That was very stupid, Ralph. I don't know why you were that stupid with your money. Ridiculous. I can't admit I have a problem, but I clearly do. You need therapy. You need to see a therapist. And rule of 3, the first one might suck, so you hire 3 therapists and start with 1. You should visit Chalet Baraka in Dubai. It's a nice restaurant. The entire city of Dubai is covered in nice restaurants, but yes. In your book, you said in order to become free Alpha 2.0, you can't live with our kids full time. That is not what I said. That is incorrect. That is not what I said. I said that the woman needs to do 90% of the job, the work of raising the kids, changing the diapers, driving them to soccer practice, shit like that, helping with homework. She needs to do 90% of it is what I said. I did not say, I said you could live outside, have them not live in your home. You could do that, and that would be fine too. Thoughts on Canelo versus William Skull fighting in Saudi Arabia? No idea. I don't even follow that kind of news. How to deal with resentment from a person who misbehaved? You are outcome dependent. Stop giving a fuck. They make more money than me, so I tend to put their opinion on a pedestal. Stop doing that. Why? Look at yourself in the mirror and say, why do I give a fuck what this person says? Because they make more money than me. Okay, why does that matter? And you keep asking why? You've got an issue. You got a problem you got to solve. It's not about this person, it's about you. You shouldn't care about any of this stuff. I hang around people all day who make way more money than me, and some of them are younger than me, which should really piss you off. I don't care. What would you do if your friend was fucking your wife? How would you handle it? Is your wife allowed to do this? Or can she only have sex with men you don't know? So the way you do all OLTR relationships is one of the ground rules is you should not fuck anyone each other knows without discussing it first. So I will never fuck any of Pink Firefly's girlfriends or family members. I won't even go there. I don't want to. But potentially for drama is too hard. And she needs to agree the same thing. She's not going to fuck your brother or your best friend. So that's the answer to that. You don't allow that. That just, of course, it's going to cause problems. And if she violates that rule, it's time to dump her ass. If she makes a promise and then violates it, then you need to move on. And then you need to break up with her. Then you need to look in the mirror and ask why you were so stupid to get into an OLTR with a woman who lied to you. You say you need to get mad to find the motivation to get out of our city situations. Mad and or scared, yes. But lately I've been so mad that I've only been able to sleep 3 to 5 hours per night. What do you suggest? Good. Good for you. Good. That's good. That won't be forever. Start making corrections and you'll start getting sleep back. I had a scenario like that a year or two ago. I was so fucking mad, it disrupted my life a little bit. I'm like, good. And now I take action and now it's okay. I spend 3 hours every morning in deep work, focused on my most important project. It's become the rudder of my entire life. So now I don't need to be mad anymore. So good. If you go through that temporary phase of being mad, great. Now your job is to fix it. What do I need to do to take action to fix my problem? You don't want to just sit and be mad the rest of your life. That's stupid. That's Andrew Tate. I was trying to study poker to create. I don't want to hear about the excuse. That was stupid. When recording affirmations, is it better to say I am or you are? I am. If it's a voice that is not you, you can say you are. If you have your girlfriend or some random guy on the internet or AI record it for you, so it's not your voice, then it's you are. If it's your voice, it's I am. I watched a video about skincare and anti-aging, about over $100 of CeraVe products. Cool. How thick do you recommend I apply these creams? Not thick. Just do full coverage. You don't need to do thick. It's a waste of your time. How do you keep your neighbors from complaining about the noise that your girls make in the bedroom? You can't. You need to move. I've talked about this. Neighbors are not controllable. You need to move. I've been in that scenario. I've had horrible neighbors and I fucking moved. But I can't move because I don't care. I just gave you the answer. There's no way you go, hey, when I fuck girls loudly, just shut up. They're not going to say, are they going to say, oh, okay, we will. They're going to say, fuck you, motherfucker. You got to move. I'm making a vision board. Cool. Given my genetics, I would look like Brad Pitt from Flight Club in 5 years. You are wrong. It won't take you 5 years. Talk to John Somnez. It'd probably take you 1 to 2. Is that too long of a goal for a vision board? No, it is not, but you're also wrong. How much is your electric bill per month? In Paraguay, $40 a month or something? It's ridiculous. Where I live, it's 12 cents per kilowatt. So if the usage is like $1,500, that's like $108 plus state tax. And the customer charge is, okay. Why is everything expensive nowadays? Because people like you have been voting for people like Donald Trump and Joe Biden for 40 years. That's why everything's expensive. How would you handle it if your wife said she was with 10 guys, okay, I don't answer. This is a new policy. I don't answer dumb questions anymore. Caleb, Andrew Tate said he's going to make a hotel in Dubai. Would you go there? I don't no longer answer dumb questions. So if you ask dumb questions, I'm just going to skip them. What's your take on taking melatonin sometimes help you fall asleep? I don't have a lot. I have some data on this. The data I have is not the pills. It's the stuff that it's the spray or the lodging, what do they call them? Frosh that you put under your tongue so you get full absorption. Then it's okay. Okay, I'm skipping another dumb question. If you see me pause, I'm reading dumb questions. I'm not answering them. I sleep with girls who say that they don't want kids. So do I. Who cares? We don't care. But don't take BC or birth control and let me hit raw. How does this make sense? Women don't make sense. And women lie. Sometimes they do want kids and they're lying. Women don't make sense. You should figure that out really. The first thing you figure out when dating, if you're a man, is women don't make sense. Men, what have I been saying for almost 20 years? Men are dumb. Women are insane. They're insane. They make no sense. What are the magic words to say to your doctor to get him run the blood tests you recommend? There are none. I asked him for the ones you recommend, and he said at least half of them are unnecessary. You say, I don't care. I'd like to run these tests, please. And if you don't do this, I'm going to find a new doctor. That's what I would say. Do you think boys are being raised to be more feminine? I don't think that. That is data. That is correct. The retarded mother's impression is spot on. Thank you. In your book, you said that our women must be the primary caregiver of our kids. Yes, and agree to cover 90% of growth. Yes, Gerald, you quoted me correctly. I love it when I'm actually quoted correctly. It doesn't happen very often. Would a woman willing agree to do all those? Yes. I have 5 or 6 women, and that's a literal number. It's 5 or 6 who would agree to it right now, right this second. 5 or 6. 5 or 6 women right now in several different countries who would agree to have babies with me, and they had to do 90% of the work. Yes. Why would they do it? Because they are attracted to you and you would help financially. There you go. And you're an alpha 2.0 and you don't yell at them and tell them what to do. Even worse, if we're not even live full time, well, then don't do it. That's up to you then. If you don't want to live with your kids full time, don't have kids unless you live with them full time. That's your decision. That's fine. Skipping another dumb question. What do you usually do while you're eating? Nothing. It's called mindful eating. So if you have a problem with food like I do, and some people don't, some fat people are just fat because they're lazy. I've discussed this on my podcast. We will live stream about this in a few weeks. There's 2 types of overweight people. Lazy people and people with a psychological problem with food. And they're very different. Lazy people who are fat because they got lazy, they can do whatever they want when they eat. If you have a psychological problem with food, which I do, you can't do anything. Stare at a wall and focus on the food. Don't listen to anything. Don't watch anything. If you have a psychological problem with food, maybe you don't. Serious question. What do you think about going to a non-Westernized country and bringing her back to the US? I wrote an entire article about that at my blog. So look at my blogs. Why that won't work. She will become Westernized in less than 3 years and then dump you and then get fat. And I gave you several examples, real life examples. Bring a non-Western woman to the West. We'll turn her into a Western woman within 3 to 5 years. Try it and you'll see. You'll be fucked. So many guys, I've tried this. I did a non-Western in the West. It happened to me. It's stupid. A Muslim friend did that with a Moroccan woman. Yeah, that Muslim Moroccan woman became a Western woman within 3 to 5 years. Now it's 3 to 5. So the first year, it's great. The first year or 2 is awesome. Long term, will that work? No, it will not. Read my article. Does gratitude play an important role in your life? Do you have a personal gratitude practice? Does it play an important role in my life? No, because I'm already very focused. So I don't have that issue of being depressed and sad all the time and not getting into action. I've already figured that all out a long time ago for me. Do I have a set gratitude practice? No, I do not. However, one of my default refocusing techniques, if I start feeling uneasy about something or like, oh shit, or I look at some of my numbers in my businesses and I see a number that bothers me, oh shit. Instead of saying, oh shit, I stop and I reframe and I immediately try to think of something I'm thankful for. So I do use that technique sometimes, but it's like, do I have a regular routine where I sit down and be thankful? No, but I think that is super valuable to do. That's why in my coaching programs, what I have the guys do is we review our wins before the meeting begins. I say, give me 3 or 4 wins from the last week. Let's focus on our wins. It's similar to gratitude. It increases your perceived competence, which increases your competence, which makes you more competent. It's a circle. How do you make momentous life decisions that will shape the rest of your life? What's your decision-making process like? Think on paper. Think on a piece of paper or a Word document. Here are the pros, here are the cons. I've made some big decisions the last several years, big ones. And I had to sit down and think through, sometimes usually on paper, what is the pros? What are the good things about this? What are the bad things about this? What is the ideal outcome? What's the worst possible outcome? And then you see if you can handle those things. Good question. Can you please explain the concept of prioritizing the outcome over the process? How do you apply this to life? Also, does this conflict with outcome independence? Thank you. Can I explain the concept? No, because I've always felt that way, even when I was a young beta male. I don't care how it's done. I want the result. I don't give a fuck how it's done. I don't care. I don't care. Give me the money. Give me the hot girls. I don't care how it gets there. The only two rules, I've said this 10,000 times, it has to be legal and I can't lie to anybody. So those are my only two rules in terms of how to get there. It can't be illegal. Just 2 days ago, someone in my life, in my work life, asked me to lie to someone. Just do this and this. And I'm like, I don't lie. I can't lie. Sorry, I can't do it. I agree with you. I want to do this thing you want to do, but I can't lie. So we got to think of something else. I can't lie. And lying would have solved a problem. Lying solves all kinds of problems temporarily. So anyway, so long as it's not illegal and I can't lie to anybody, I don't give a fuck. And I can't explain the concept. That's just my opinion. I am results oriented. I'm not process oriented. I think process orientation comes from Lissigs and going to college. Aaron, did you? No. Yeah, Aaron Lennon. Did you go to college? I'm betting you went to college because college teaches you it's all about the process. So you need to have this flow chart and make sure that, no, it's not about the process. Get the fucking result. Does this conflict with outcome independence? No. Outcome independence means you are outcome independent upon the day-to-day activities and day-to-day, week-to-week results. But on the big picture, you want it bad. So I am outcome dependent about my big long-term goals and my mission. I want those badly. But day-to-day, week-to-week, I don't give a fuck. As long as I'm making progress, do not care. How do you convince our woman to be willing to be the primary caregiver of our kids and take care of 90% of the grunt works? First of all, if you have to convince her, you shouldn't have her as an OLTR. You already fucked up. You shouldn't have to convince her. She should already be in that zone before you made her your OLTR as part of the OLTR talk. So that's answer number one. Answer number two, you give her all the things you will do. Hey, I'll financially support you and the kid for the rest of your life. That's kind of a benefit. Hey, I'm an Alpha 2.0. I won't yell at you ever. I won't ever tell you what to do. Every other manual date will be, up your ass all the time. I'll let you do whatever you want. That's a pretty good deal. So financial support, and I'm nice to you the rest of your life. There's two big pluses that most men can't do. And again, you can't convince her. If you have to try to convince her, you picked the wrong woman to be your OLTR. If my woman disagrees with the idea, do you think it's still possible to change your mind? No, you need to break up with her and get a new woman. What key things should an Alpha 2.0 dad raise a daughter with? What key lessons in life should they give a daughter? Everything I just said applies equally to men, boys, and girls. And go to my blog, alphamale20.com/blog, and go to the archive and search on Letter to My Daughter and read that article. What do you think about total world index funds? I think they're fine. This is basically where you should invest the entire world. I know what they are. They're okay. They're fine as part of the permanent portfolio model. They're okay. They're fine. I'm so grateful that I've never been slapped by my parents. I agree with that big time. And I was swatted on the butt like 3 times in my life. My parents, when I was real little, did hit us a little, but it's like 3 or 4 times, and that was it. So I'm thankful for that too. Yeah, and I had a lot of buddies in the 80s and 70s who got their asses kicked by their parents. So basically, you focus entirely on only a few outcomes. Correct. You have to focus. Rule of 2. Absolutely. And don't care about any of their outcomes. Yes, I don't care about the outcomes in a given week or day. Right? So if I want to look for a long-term wife in 3 years, am I going to give a shit about the date I have tomorrow? No, I don't care what happens on that date tomorrow. So that's outcome independence. Wouldn't a more fitting term be outcome exclusivity? No, it would not be more fitting in my opinion. But you're free to write your own book and develop your own brand and call it whatever you want. Caleb, I ran into my ex doing cold approach. Ha, it was funny. She just looked away when I looked at her to smile. Okay, great. Do you think Andrew Tate was smacked as a kid? Probably. How important is prioritizing action over theory? It is the most important thing for you. It's the most important thing for people in my audience. Action over theory. And how do you enforce it in life? Do all my techniques. Mission, goals, vision, managing dopamine, getting in touch with your pain and your fear, everything I talk about. Would you say having only one main goal at any given time is most effective? I've already said that many times. Yes. Even more than having 3 to 5 goals. Yes, I've said that many times. One is the best. How do you keep your women and your mission apart? There's lots of parts of my life that have nothing to do with my mission. Mission is not your entire life. It's the meaning, end game, goal, meaning of your life. It's not your entire life. If I have sex with an FB, what does that have to do with my mission? Nothing. That's it. That's fine. How do you focus on your work when you are seeing your FBs and MLTRs so often? Isn't that horribly distracting? It is the exact opposite. As I've said many times, I don't know how new you are to my content. I have sex 2 to 3 times a week. 2 to 3 times a week, not every day. Okay, that would be distracting every day. 2 to 3 times a week, so that I don't get distracted when I work. I have sex so I can focus on my work. So I can sit down and work 10 hours straight with a few breaks. I can't do that if I'm not getting laid. I'll be thinking about pussy and boobs, just like most of you do, and going over to porn, and you don't want to do that. So you get laid enough where you can focus on your work. That's why I get laid, to focus on my work. Why do women avoid accountability so much? This is a common theme. Yes. Why? Very complex to answer that question. And why is this behavior encouraged? Men encourage it, and women encourage it. That's a very long answer. I don't have time to answer that question. But the answer is yes, women avoid accountability. Had to end the relationship because it was monogamous. She kept traveling a lot. Okay. Throughout history, the decline of traditional monogamy tended to preclude societal breakdown and eventual collapse of different cultures around the world. Yeah, I think I agree with that. You're correct. Do you see the same pattern in the West today? Yes, I do see the same pattern. The West is fucked. What do beta male dads turn their kids into? They turn their kids into they turn their sons into beta male pussies, and they turn their daughters into entitled cunts. What does the alpha male 1.0 turn their kids into? They turn into beta male pussies or angry alpha male 1.0s who are angry and they're never good enough. Alpha male 1.0 dads turn out kids who never feel they're good enough. And so they react, either they become overachievers and super stressed out and they hate their lives, like Elon Musk, or they turn into pussies. Which outcome is better than the two in terms of parenting? They're both awful. You should be an alpha male 2.0. If I decide to not live with my children for a time and let them live with their mother, how do I ensure my boy will still grow up to be a strong masculine alpha boy? Read my article in my blog about how many months a year you need to spend. You need to be there a lot. You don't have to physically live in the same house. You need to be there a lot regularly, months and months and months a year on a regular basis. After my divorce, I saw my kids all weekend, every weekend, not every other weekend, this bullshit. Every weekend I had my kids. And then through many weeks in the summer. And then when my daughter turned 16, she moved in with me. So I was with my kids a lot, but I didn't live with them. Do you think even having kids is ethical with how screwed the world seems to be? That's a left-wing view. Or do you think raising kids in Alpha 2.0 is sufficient? Here's what I think. That's a very good question. It is unethical to have kids when you can't afford to raise them in the proper environment. Fact. That's why I said, don't have kids in the West. Don't have kids unless you're a multimillionaire or at six-figure income in the West. And I've also said many times, don't go around the world impregnating girls and then vanishing and not being a dad. I've said this many times. That's completely unethical. You have kids, as I said at the very beginning of this, you have kids as a preset plan. When you have it all planned out, you know you're going to spend a significant time with them. You know you have enough money to physically, financially support them and their mama if necessary. You have them with a mama who's nice, who qualifies for OLTR, not that other one that the guy said she doesn't want to do 90%. You plan all that, then it's ethical. It is unethical if you have kids without doing any of those things. And if you can't do those things right now, wait. As I said, don't have kids till you're at least 40. I'm right about this. You can't afford kids when you're under 40. You know what the hell you're doing under 40. You're a moron. I was an idiot when I was in my 20s. It's wild because I taught him everything my dad taught me about building and maintaining good relationships, life, and business. Feels like it's an afterthought now. Pretty shitty. Sounds like you have a great relationship with your kids. Everyone's parents make mistakes, but I always knew in my heart my dad loved me. It's huge. Yes. As long as your dad also taught you cause and effect. Both. Moms and beta male dads are very good at telling their kids, I love you no matter what, Joey. That's the easy part for them. The hard part is punishing their little asses when they need to be punished. And not rewarding them if they don't come through. And rewarding them if they come through. That's hard for beta male nice guys and moms. So you can do both. You need to be an alpha and a beta. Both. What time of parenting causes certain adults to become drug addicts? I don't understand the question. Please don't have kids if you're a drug addict. Please don't do that. Or if you're an alcoholic, please don't. Please don't make the world a worse place. It's bad enough already. I would add not comparing kids if you have more than one. That fucked up my dad and his brothers. Like putting them in competition with one another's better than the others. You don't want to physically tell your kids, I like you better than Joe, or I like, you don't want to do that. You want to compare. Oh, I see comparing. Right. That's right. You don't. Well, Johnny gets straight A's. Why are you getting C minuses? That's terrible. You're right. But you don't accept C minuses either. Read the story in The Unchained Man about what I did with Josh when he came home with bad grades several months in a row. Read that whole story. It worked. But I did not compare Josh to Alyssa, vice versa. Josh is way more successful. My son, now as they're both adults, is way more successful in life than my daughter. I don't compare. You can't. They're different people. You can't compare me to any of my brothers or sisters, any of them. We're too different. Can't do it. Do you think that a parents should always help children with basic stuff, house, food, etc., if they are broke until they will independent again? You mean when they're adults? It's a case-by-case basis and it cannot be permanent. So if my kids have horrible financial trouble, they need to move in with me for a few months to get their shit together, sure, it's okay. Am I going to hand them a bunch of money? No, not. What types of people make fucked up parents? Oh, there's a bunch. People who are easily stressed out. That's one of the reasons Pink Firefly doesn't want kids. I never had kids. She's a very stressy woman. She gets stressed very easily. And so if she had little kids running around the house, she would get stressed out. She loves kids. She volunteers for kids. She was a teacher. She loves children. But if she had a kid 24/7, she knows. She would get stressed out and she'd scream and yell, or she'd lash out, so she's self-aware. That's why Pink Firefly is awesome. There's one. Super anal fucking people who like their house and their kitchen exactly the way they like it, and their carpet exactly the way they like it, and their house exactly. There are a lot of super anal fucking people. Many of you are in this category. Please do not have kids. Kids will fuck all that up for 20 years straight, and you will be miserable. Don't do it. So really anal people. Drug addict, and then the obvious, drug addicts, alcoholics, extreme alpha male 1.0s, extreme pussy betas, Almost 50, no kids yet. You said we must achieve our biggest goals in life before having kids. Yes, as kids are trying. Yes, fine, wait. Fine, some of my mentors didn't have kids until their 60s. Great, fine. That's one of the mistakes I made. I love my kids, but I had them way too soon. I should not have had kids when I was 25. What an idiot, Caleb. Well, 25-year-old Caleb. He's long dead now, but replaced him a long time ago. For parents who really don't want their kids to become gay, how would you prevent that in the 21st century? A, you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care, Antonio. Your last name's Abrao, so you're Muslim. You shouldn't care. You shouldn't care. You shouldn't care. You shouldn't care if your kids grow up to be gay. What fucking difference does it make to you? If both my kids turn out to be gay, I wouldn't give a fuck. And you shouldn't care. You need to go in the mirror right now and ask yourself why you care. Now, I think I know why you care. Societal programming. You're in a Muslim area or a Muslim country or Muslim parents or Muslim, that gay people are evil. Well, is that true? Or is that just what you were told? Societal programming is false. You shouldn't care. Now, I said gay, not trans. That's a whole different conversation. That's different. But gay, you shouldn't care. Who cares? Do you think it's better for me to A, postpone having kids and keep chasing my goal until I'm 60? Sure, yes. Or B, do you think 60 is too old to have kids? No. One of the greatest mentors of my life is Jim Rogers. He didn't have kids until his 60s. Good for him. He is so happy. He is so happy being a dad. Jim Rogers didn't have kids until he was like 61, 62. No, wait. So it's easier to be a millionaire than be a good parent if there are more millionaires than good parents. What? So if it's easier to be a millionaire than a good parent, are there more millionaires than good parents? Yeah, probably. Yes. How many good parents do you know? Reading The Hobbit, D&D, little typewriter. Yeah. What do you think of competition? Do you compare yourself to others to motivate you? I don't, because I'm too outcome independent. That doesn't work for me. But it does work for a lot of men. Grant Cardone, that's his whole life. So it can work for some men. I'm too outcome independent. I don't care how much money you make. So it doesn't work for me, but it might work for you, sure. Okay, ignoring a stupid question. Ignoring a stupid comment. I have dated many girls, but every time I meet a new girl, my penis does not work due to emotions. What can I do to avoid this recurring issue? Practice. I've discussed this. A lot of people have that issue when it's a new girl. You got to practice having sex and being hard and having sex with new girls. You know what you need to do? More new girls. You know what? I had a little bit of that problem way back in 2007 when it was new, and because it's all mental, right? You just practice more. And your answer is, I hate to say this, more new girls. You just keep practicing. And Cialis and Viagra is an acceptable thing to do in these scenarios. If it's a new girl, get some Cialis and pop that in 2 hours before, and it's okay. It'll help. You have a course on real estate. When you are renting to tenants and pay the utilities, or are they included? Tenants pay the utilities. And would you participate in the Section 8 program because of the guaranteed rent payment, as the government will pay a portion of rent? I have no problem with you doing it. I wouldn't do that because of my philosophies, because I'm a libertarian, but for you to do it, I think it's fine. My brother did that for years. Matter of fact, I think he's still doing it. So I think my older brother, he owns a Section 8 apartment. Yeah, and he's made money doing it, so it's worked for him. So you sure you can do it? I can't because I'm true to my beliefs. I don't do government programs. My primary Catholic school teacher made me wash my mouth out with two. I miss the 90s. Okay, skipping some more dumb. Oh, it feels so good to skip dumb questions. This is great. What will be the effects on kids if their father does not spend enough time with them when they're little kids? The same as being raised by a single mom. Do you know guys who were raised by single moms? How are these guys as adults? Some of you were raised by a single mom. How are you as an adult? That's what's going to happen. How can self-aware millennials, Gen Z, who can't fully integrate cause and effect overcome these issues? There's nothing specific I know how to do other than follow everything I talk about. And not just me, other people's content too. Mission, vision, goals, dopamine, motivation, negative motivation, positive motivation. Just do everything I talk about. Beyond that, I don't know. Read some books on that. I don't know. Do you use sugar daddy websites? I don't anymore. I don't need new women, but I have, yes. Why is it a bad way to meet girls? It is not. It is not provided. Here are the 2 rules for Alpha Male 2.0 when you're going to pay for sex. Number 1, you can get laid with reasonably cute girls without paying for sex. You have that ability to do that without having to pay for it. That is requirement number 1. If the only way you can get laid is pay for it, or the only way you get laid pretty girls to pay for it, don't do that, please. That will ruin your self-esteem and damage you forever to keep doing that. Stop. Learn how to get laid without paying it for it. A. B, you make plenty of money. If you make $42,000 a year, you should not be on any sugar daddy sites. That's too expensive. You can't afford that. Can we get an SMS message or notification on our phone before your live streams start? No, stop being a pussy and an idiot. Use a calendar. If you're meeting a girl that is 21 years old, Ukrainian, living in Poland, very good looking, how many dates should you before escalating to sex? Try it 2. And the odds are you'll have to wait till 3. Okay, skipping more dumb comments. I find the millennial and Gen Z generation are infantilized so much these days. Correct? I talked about why. Why is this the case? I already talked about that. You said that game has gotten harder except social circle game. Yes. Can you explain why social circle game has gotten easier? Because less people are doing it. Less guys are doing it and less people are doing it. And the people who join together in social circles, are women in particular, are more apt to have sex with guys because it's a new, unique thing now. That's why. Thoughts on stay-at-home dads? Wife making a 7-figure income, but husband doesn't make enough. Doesn't work because wife makes enough. Terrible. That's another word for beta male. I teach alpha male. You're not an alpha if you make no money and your wife makes all the money. Because again, who's in charge of the relationship? Are you in charge or is she in charge? She's in charge. See, you can't live a life where the woman's in charge. Sorry. How much per month with a location-dependent business per month do you think puts you as in king-like freedom? Depends on where you live in the world. I recommend $7,000 a month minimum, but if you live in New York City or Tokyo or Paris, you're poor. You live here in Paraguay, you're a god. Would you say it's appropriate if alpha male 2.0 father attends their children's sporting games? Why would you not do that? It's a silly question. Should this be designated mothers only? Absolutely not. No. I said the work involved in raising a kid. Going to his games and supporting him is not work. Work is like driving him to soccer practice, helping with homework, changing his diapers, bullshit like that, going to parent-teacher conferences, that kind of bullshit. You absolutely should go to his games. I went to my son's games and my daughter's eventually, what little she had. No, go. Now, here's the thing. There's a balance here. And I did this with Josh. Alyssa didn't have a lot of games and stuff. Josh had games all the time. Every fucking week he had stuff. So I told my wife at the time, I'm not going to every game. Well, he has a game every Saturday, then another one on Sunday night. Okay, I'm not going to every one. I'll go to most of them. I'll go to a lot of them, not every one. Because then, again, you're crossing a line. Now you're a pussy dad doing whatever the son wants. Thoughts on the Canadian election? I don't have any thoughts other than Canada's collapsing. You need to fucking leave. I live with my family. It's honestly shit. Move out. I just got approved for government-sponsored housing. Should I take it? That's against my philosophy, but if you want to do that, it's better than living at home with parents. Yes. Okay, ignoring more questions. What are your thoughts on Ecuador, Bolivia, and Nicaragua, respectively, as flags? What kind of flag? I don't know what you mean. What kind of flag? Living there? Ecuador is great. Bolivia's pretty poor. Nicaragua, I would not recommend. Too much crime. Australia has banned social media for under 16-year-olds. What do you think of this? It's not enforceable. You can't enforce that. How do you enforce that? Are the cops going to come and break into everyone's house in Sydney and Melbourne and look at every 15-year-old's phone to make sure it's stupid? It's like saying, don't smoke weed, don't have premarital sex, and it's not enforceable. These are feel-good laws. These are not laws that work. But what do I call Australia? Authoritarian Australia. Get the fuck out of Australia. If I do a dual live-in OLTR wife, can I have our kids stay in her house? Sure. Should I? That's your decision. Those should. But could you? Yes, you bet. When's your next lower-cost live stream offer? I don't have one anytime soon. I have something very big coming up. Here's what I have coming up for you guys. I'll give you a hint. Should I give you this hint? What date is it? May what? I'll give you a hint. Something coming that's very big. Probably the biggest thing I'm doing all year. Okay, I'll give you a hint. Those of you who want to join the 90-day Business Builder program, really bad, but you just can't afford it. You literally can't afford it. You don't have several $1,000s. You can't afford it. Something for you guys. Coming later. I'm unemployed. I should probably get a job now that I'm starting from scratch. Ralph, you're asking a lot of really dumb questions. Why would I say no, don't get a job? You're asking really dumb questions, Ralph. For the well-being of my kids, what's the minimum frequency I should see them in my OLTR if I live an international life? As a rotator, switching between 4 to 5 countries. I did a blog post on exactly that. Go to alphamale20.com/blog and go to the archives, look to the last few months on raising kids internationally. I address exactly that question. Go read that article with exact numbers and dates and everything. How soon in age can I fly my kids with my OLTR to follow me in my international life? I would say when the kids are 6. 6, I think 6 is okay. Maybe 4 or 5, but I would say 6. You need, little kids are formulating their brains and shit when they're little. And so if they're 2, 3, 4, I wouldn't be throwing them all over the planet. 5, 6, somewhere in there, I think it'd be okay. Some parents in certain cultures use physical punishment. Correct. Most cultures are stupid. Even when their children are older. Yes. How would that mess their kids up? Look at the data. The data is overwhelming. Fucks up their ability to have relationships. Fucks up their social skills. Makes it higher that they will hit people. Fucks up their ability to be parents. Fucks up their ability to have girlfriends and boyfriends and down the fucking line. Raises the odds to go to prison. Look at the data. How important is not caring about what other people think about you? It is supremely important. It's called outcome independence. It's one of the core tenets I teach here at Alpha Male 2.0. How do you enforce this in your life? How do you enforce it with yourself? You don't enforce outcome independence. How do you do it in yourself? The standard technique is, if you're really pissed about something someone's doing or whatever, you really give a shit about something, you stand in front of the mirror and you say, why do I care about this so much? And your brain will say, because of this. And then you'll say, okay, why do I care about that? And your brain will say, well, because of that. And then you say, well, why do I care about that? And your brain will go, well, I think because maybe this. All right, why do I give a fuck about that? And you keep going, and eventually your brain will say, I guess I don't give a shit. Or because my mom, when I was 5, said this stupid thing. And you go, oh, this is dumb. I wrote my code to not lie, but my resume is filled with them, all right? And you can't do that. Make a new resume that's honest. I expressed this to my sister, a recruitment agent. She just asked me if I wanted a job or not. I really, okay, you have a decision to make, don't you? Were you serious when you wrote that in your code or not? If you weren't serious, then lie all you want. If you were serious, you can't. I just told you 2 days ago, someone asked me to lie. That would have solved a problem in my life. I said, I can't do that. So now I still have this fucking problem because I won't lie. Your sister clearly, normal humans don't care about lying, clearly. I care. That's up to you. Caleb's suggestion, you should change the name of Alpha 2.0 to something different. You're losing lots of customers simply because you have Alpha in the name. It's a bad keyword. I don't care about Alpha 2.0 as a keyword. I don't care about it as a keyword. Do not care. And yeah, I'm certain I will lose customers. I've said this many times on my blogs. I don't want pussies here. If you're a pussy, if you're offended by Alpha 2.0, I don't want you in my audience. I don't want you here. There's a reason my audience is nice and small, and I want to keep it small. I need it bigger, but I still want it small. I've said 10,000 times, I never want more than 40,000 followers on any one of my social media platforms, ever. I don't want to be famous. No, thank you. Do masculine women make bad mothers? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Caleb, you're wrong about Jordan Peterson being an angry alpha male. I never said he was an alpha male. I said he was angry. Jordan Peterson is extremely angry. Look at his Twitter. He's rarely angry. He's angry all the you're smoking pot. I don't know what the hell you're smoking. He is angry so much on Twitter. His daughter has tried to take his Twitter away from him several times. He gets so mad and reactive. He gets angry on interviews. He gets angry in debates. I've seen it many times. You're smoking something funny. He's a beta in your classification system. Correct. I never said he was an alpha male. I said he was angry. And he is. If you think he's not angry, you're wrong. He's an angry beta male. Correct. I want to travel overseas by myself. Okay, a few more questions. I will literally have to go. I want to travel overseas by myself every 3 months for a week or so for the foreseeable future. Great. How do I explain to my soon-to-be OLTer so she won't freak out? You don't explain it. You just tell her. Here's the deal. I'm going to da-da-da-da. And you watch her. If she goes, then she doesn't qualify for OLTer. You get rid of her and find someone else. She's like, well, do you feel strong about this? Yes, I feel strong about it. Okay. Then that's the OLTR for you. Yeah, that's what I meant. If the child has a jam-packed schedule, three sports a week. That's okay, good. Why are so many hot girls with average or below average cool betas? See this everywhere. Yes. Come to Paraguay. That's what you see in Paraguay. Paraguay in particular, but other countries. You see all over the place. Hot girls with big, dumpy guys. Dumpy, beta male, chubby, dumbass, ugly guys. Awesome. Why? Read all my content. Read all my, what's the most attractive trait? It's not looks, it's outcome independence. So if you have confidence, outcome independence, game skill, you can attract women without being gorgeous. I've been reasonably overweight for the past 18 years. Worked for me, but why? Because I have game skill, confidence, outcome independence. And you do need to optimize whatever you have. So I dressed nice and I took care of my hair and addressed, my balding hair, addressed the gap in my tooth, and still overweight, but I addressed everything else I could dress. Took care of my skin. Okay. I'm 53. Do I look 53? So I addressed what you could, but yes, that's the answer. Mm-hmm. Have multiple children with multiple women. How do you manage this? Very complicated topic that I don't have time to discuss. I don't want to lie. I guess I could ask Guy for a recruitment agency. What do you say? What? I don't understand your question. Okay, last question. What do you think is the max frequency of, I already answered that question. Go to my blog. Go read the article. Cool. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow for the Unchained CEO. It's a very important one tomorrow. It's a critical one. You think it's about personal brand and you think, it's about how to make a personal brand. No, it's not. It's not about that. It's about something else related to personal brand. Why you need a personal brand, or at least a percentage of you. See you tomorrow.